Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert, and I would like to welcome you to the Small Biz Chat podcast. Today's show is all about developing tighter cash flow management in 2021. We're also going to be talking about the art of selling a business. And have you ever wanted to become a celebrity doctor? Well, if you do, I've got the lady you want to talk to here with us tonight. It's really all about if you're looking for new ways to conserve cash in your business, we've got some great insights. If you've been thinking about whether or not now is the time for you to sell your business, we're going to talk about it. And if you are a physician interested in creating a niche practice and becoming a media expert, I have lined up some amazing experts today who are going to discuss how to make 2021 a great year in your business. The Small Biz Chat podcast really is a peer-to-peer interview show that gives small business owners a way to get invaluable business insights. The mission of Small Biz Chat is to end small business failure. And the Small Biz Chat broadcast can be seen on my Small Biz Lady Facebook page, on my YouTube channel, and we are streaming live on Twitter as well via Periscope. Our goal with Small Biz Chat is to give small business owners an opportunity to hear sage advice from multiple angles to take your small business to the next level. Today's guests are Elliott Buchanan, CEO of Plastique. He's going to talk to us about alternative cash flow tools. We're also going to talk with best-selling author John Warrillow. He's got a new book out, The Art of Selling a Business. And Dr. Catrice Austin is with us, and she's going to break down her medical marketing secrets that will make you a celebrity doctor. Now, with that, it's time for me to introduce my very first guest, Eliot Buchanan, who is the co-founder and CEO of Plastique. And I want to thank him and Plastique for being a sponsor of tonight's show. Now, Plastique is a payments company that helps small businesses pay or accept payments via credit card or cash for virtually any expense. Eliot founded Plastique after he couldn't charge his Harvard tuition on his credit card. Since then, Plastique has enabled millions of customers with more than over 100,000 small businesses to make billions of dollars in payments, particularly where credit cards are not accepted. And it enables them to better manage cash flow and growth. Eliot is passionate about helping small businesses, and I'm so excited that you're here with us tonight. Eliot, welcome.
Thanks, Linda. No, my pleasure, and exciting to also be alongside a couple other esteemed guests. So happy to be a sponsor and always happy to help small business owners.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So give us a little bit of the history of Plastique. Tell us about your company and how you guys got involved in really trying to help small business owners because, cash is king in business, right? So how this all came about.
Yeah, no, sure. Happy to. It's been a long journey, as I think everyone on this call can attest to, being a business owner. Each year is like 10 years. But the way the company started, so I came to the U.S. from Canada, and so I was new to the country. And one of the challenges was actually establishing my credit score. And that's when I decided to take out my first ever credit card here in the United States to try and pay. It wasn't all of my Harvard tuition, Melinda. I couldn't afford that, but a small piece of it that I wanted to pay. And the purpose of that was to try and build some credit and establish a credit score here in the U.S., which is, as we all know, really important, both as a consumer and as a small business owner. And so that's how the company started. Is I went to try and pay using at the time my first Visa credit card, and I was told I couldn't pay that way, which felt just inconvenient and disempowering. Here I was trying to just simply get something done that I, as a consumer at the time wanted to do, and I was told no, and that set off the genesis story of how the company originally started.
Interesting. So I wanted to ask you sort of like if you had to pick one word to describe the state of small business coming out of 2020 into 2021, what would that word be?
Yeah, sure. I think resilient is the word I would use. And just to give a quick context on that, I mean, the reason that comes to mind is, small business owners above any other part of the economy, right? Especially as we've seen through COVID. Yes, there's a lot of challenges, but in talking to thousands of small business owners that I have over the last few years and the 100,000 we serve, That's one common trait amongst every business owner, regardless of industry, is they are resilient, and it feels like while it's been difficult, they're poised for a really exciting year coming ahead.
Awesome, awesome. So what do you think has been your biggest takeaway as a business owner yourself going into 2021?
Yeah, I mean, so as a business owner myself, I'd say optionality is sort of the theme that comes to mind. And what I mean by that is, last year was so unpredictable, and this is for me, my first major recession that I've experienced. For many business owners, they've experienced multiple of these, and each one is a little different. And this one certainly was very different on a global scale. And, I think one theme when we talk to business owners, and when I think even about us as a small business owner, in our case, is giving ourselves optionality and preserving different options, because, having just a single plan is not really going to cut it, even in ways like it may have before this recent pandemic. And so preserving optionality is one theme that comes to mind. And then secondly, just briefly, the other one that I'm thinking through is, again, as tough as last year was, frankly, I'm inspired when I talk to a lot of our customers around how optimistic they are for, maybe not first half this year, but coming through the second half. And I think actually there's going to be a record number of businesses started and a record number of entrepreneurs and small business owners entering the market after realizing maybe they weren't happy with their job before, maybe they were laid off and they're forced to start a company. But I think it's going to breed a record amount of innovation in this economy.
I agree with you. And I tell people that all the time. Great businesses are actually started in recessions.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the history all the way back to the early 1900s, whether it was IBM, 3M, Microsoft, CNN, and then you want to get in more recent times, Uber, Groupon, like there's a lot of businesses that were started in recession. So I think Mother
Yep.
Necessity doesn't care whether it's a recession or not. If people have an unmet need and you serve it, the world will be a path to your door for sure. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, how can small business owners take more control of their money in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, a few things that we think about, at least in the context of plastic, right? One of the things with small businesses that's different than, say, larger businesses, et cetera, is we find they need certainty. That's the word that comes to mind more than others, because when they have a need for funding, it's often not planned. It's very unexpected. It's very last minute. And so, there's a variety of ways that we have learned through 2020 and into 2021 now that we're here, that business owners can, take advantage of, helping manage their cash flow and helping preserve, optionality, the word I used earlier. There's a lot of grants and loans out there, which is nice, but they also take time. There's been a lot of disappointment, as we all know, I think, in some of the government's role in that setting. And so what we've actually seen, and our advice to business owners, Melinda, has been actually, negotiate with the community you're in. And what I mean by that is a lot of business owners we talk to don't realize that, everyone's in this together. And a lot of the vendors they pay, a lot of the customers that pay them are also going through, challenging, unprecedented times. And so, reaching out to their customers and relying on them to help give them optionality and preserve cash and say, hey, are you able to fund this payment early? Or likewise, reaching out to their vendors and saying, hey, can you give me an extra 15 days, 30 days? You'd be shocked at how many times, a lot of vendors are willing to work with you as a business owner, because it's a relationship-based community. The small business community is large, but it's very tight-knit. And so oftentimes you don't need to always, go seek out loans, et cetera. And obviously when you do, plastics like, a very interesting platform that allows you to use your credit card to do that very quickly without taking out a new loan. But even in addition to that, we tell our customers, trust the community, reach out to them, and you can often buy time just by way of your existing relationships and the credibility you have with that.
I completely agree with you. One of the things that I was thinking about was like, when you think about, 2020, there was no shortage of small business needs, right? So it was like, money, support, resources, money, so there was a lot of things that people needed, but, what are some of the needs that you feel best positioned to offer small businesses who need assistance right now?
Yeah, I think certainty is the name of the game, and by that I mean, what we are able to offer, and again, there's a lot of resources, and we like to encourage SMBs to go and explore all the resources. But what we're able to do that, frankly, almost no one is able to do is a small business owner can come to us today, and they may have a variety of payments and bills that are outstanding. And because they're short on cash, they're struggling to make that decision as to, do they make a late payment, or do they cut back payroll and cut back expenses, which could hurt the workforce and hurt their employees. And with us, they don't have to make that trade-off. They can use credit they already have in the form of a credit card. So it's not like they're applying for a new loan that might burden them with additional debt, or a loan they may never get or never get on time. They can actually use credit that they've already worked really hard, and frankly they're entitled to have because they've earned it. They can use that on plastic to pay their vendors, and within that credit card cycle, they're getting 30 or 45 days depending on the credit card you already have, which in a lot of businesses is enough time to get through that unexpected period. And again, because it's already credit they have, it's certain. So there's no guessing game for them. Business owners are already under enough stress, and so I think certainty is the element of our products and what we solve that I think business owners relish the most right now.
So about funding, right? There's all kinds of funding options out here, right? We've got banks, we've got sort of like the merchant vendors, that are providing funding, and then there's certainly traditional banks, right? And then I want to be clear, sometimes people think the SBA loans money. No, the SBA provides guarantees for banks and CDFIs who loan money. But what advice would you have to offer small business owners who are more looking for some funding right now to try to save their business?
Yeah, I mean, so similar to a couple of things we touched upon, there are grants and loans like you point out, but a lot of them are not certain and they take time. What I mentioned about earlier is a lot of times you can finance an extra 15, 30, 45 days by just reaching out to your customers. It's basically a free loan. Your customer wants to maintain their business with you. Your vendor, in most cases, wants to maintain that relationship. They've had long-standing ties with you, and they'll often say, actually, yeah, we're fine for 30 days. And hey, Melinda, it's been great to have your business. So please, we know you're going through a hard time, and we want you in business. And it's in their best interest, because if you go out of business, they're not going to earn your future revenue. So again, we often encourage business owners to leverage that resource before they think about applying for a net new loan. And then of course there's solutions like ours, which can be also really valuable, like we touched upon briefly, which is they can basically defer all their vendor payments for 45 days for next to nothing by using credit they already have without taking on new loans. So we also, it's in our interest, but we often encourage them to do that as well.
Awesome. Now I have a question. Can you pay yourself with plastic?
Many have tried. The short answer is no, and the primary reason for that, Melinda, is risk. And without getting too much detail, risk from the perspective of, if someone's trying to pay themselves, it can be indicative of an unhealthy behavior. Because if you think about it, one thing we like to steer really clear away from is ensuring the business owner and the individual who's already going through a hard time, we don't want them in further a debt that they can't afford, right? So it's a delicate balance, and often paying yourself can get you in trouble and be unhealthy for you as a business owner. And so we tend to discourage that. And then for other reasons, we just simply don't allow it. So you can pay almost any recipient and vendor, not just the United States, but actually we do payments all around the world, but you cannot fund yourself.
Got it. Well, I'm going to put a pin in it right there. And up next on SmallBizChat Live, we're going to come right back and talk more about managing your small business cash flow in 2021. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. You're watching SmallBizChat Live, and we will be right back.
People and businesses everywhere use plastic to pay for virtually anything using their credit card, even where cards aren't accepted. It's so fast and easy. We'll explain how it works in less than 60 seconds. Ready? First, you tell us who you want to pay, how much you want to pay, and enter your payment information. Next, plastic charges your credit or debit card. Finally, we send your recipient a check, ACH, or wire transfer, and you rack up points from your credit card reward program. Don't forget, plastic also offers global payments, the ability to pay in cash from your bank account, and more. Take 2 minutes and make a payment with Plastic today at plastic.com. Plastic. It's the smarter way to pay.
Back to Small Biz Chat Live. I'm back with my guest, CEO Elliott Buchanan of Plastic. We're talking about how to boost your business cash flow going into, well, we're already into 2021, right? We're not going into it, we're in it. So let's talk about the future. Elliott, let's talk about 2021 and what are some of your assumptions about some of the things that are going to happen with the small business community this year?
Sure. Absolutely. I think a couple trends come to mind, right? One is, and I touched upon this briefly earlier, but I'm a strong believer in it, which is there's going to be more businesses started than ever before. And this is not just because I think people, there's been a record number of layoffs, right, which is not a great statistic if you look at it in a narrow sense. But again, if you look at it in a broader sense, I think it's going to force some innovation that otherwise wouldn't have happened. And you're going to see a lot of businesses started that otherwise may not have started. And I think that's going to be a really positive thing. And the other aspect of that, and why I think that trend's going to stick in terms of more business owners starting than ever, is people. I think this crisis was different. 2020 was a different crisis than prior crises. It wasn't just an economic crisis. It was a socioeconomic crisis. It was a crisis, speaking of mental health, and it took an emotional toll on a lot of the population. For those reasons, I think a lot of introspection happened that's going to force people in a good way to say, am I really doing what I'm happy to do? And why didn't I start that idea? Or why was I've often been told by others I couldn't start that. And I think now you're going to see people say, no, now is the time, if not now, when. And that thesis is going to stick more this year than it ever has before, in my opinion. And so that's one trend. And then secondly, I guess, frankly, there's, I think, a little bit of an eroded trust in what I'll call institutions, broadly speaking. And I mean governmental, I mean financial. And a lot of these SMBs relied on loans that didn't often come to fruition, or went to sources that were much larger than the SMBs, despite their need being greater. And so because of that erosion of trust, I think the positive trend of that in the SMB world is there's going to be a record amount of early adoption of technology with SMBs. And that also means, all SMBs are going to win in terms of their ability to have access to new technology and new apps and new services. Whereas in the past, SMBs they've often been left behind in the technology game. That's no longer going to be the case, and that's going to be a win, I think, for all SMBs.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like in the last 2 to 3 years, everyone has figured out, there's 30 million small businesses. Maybe we should start trying to sell to those people. It's amazing to me. It's like everybody used to chase enterprise customers, right? We want blue chips. And now all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, there's only 1,850 of them, but there's 30 million of these other people. It's like, yeah, we've always been here. We've been waiting on you guys to pay some attention to us. So I think it's kind of interesting, but I completely agree with your point about trust. I think trust has been majorly eroded. I think people who desperately needed EIDL loans and were turned down because of their credit scores when they were trying to save their businesses, and then sometimes, save their whole personal livelihood, I think was completely disingenuous. And, a lot of small businesses have been hurt. I couldn't agree with you more. So what challenges do you think might get in the way of small businesses this year, though?
Oh boy. I think that, the pace of this recovery is going to be a little episodic. And so back to my earlier point I mentioned, which is I think SMBs, they often crave control, and a word we use as I used earlier is certainty, right? They want to have certainty, even though obviously it's the exact opposite of what comes with starting and running a business. And I think, again, unlike prior crises and SMBs that have lived through one or more, coming through this one's going to be a little more episodic and cyclical and seasonal nature. And so I would, therefore caution some SMBs around, you're going to see, I think, a dramatic catalyzing ramp in a positive direction out of this, but you may see some cycles down again and some setbacks. So maybe a little bit lumpy, if that makes sense. And therefore SMBs, being entrepreneurs as they are, as I am, often can get ahead of our skis, if you will. And I think in this post-crisis world, I think being cautiously optimistic and preserving optionality, which I also mentioned earlier, is going to be the key to getting through 2021.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Elliot. It was great insight that you provided. Up next, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about how to sell your small business. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we will be right back.
People always ask me, how can I become my own boss? With multiple features in the New York Times, Forbes, and on ABC News as America's #1 small business expert, I know a thing or two about how to do it. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I've been coaching small business owners since 2008. That's right, I've been helping small business owners plan for success since the last recession, and I'm still here reaching over 3 million small business owners a week online. I've spent the last 12 years compiling exactly what I did to become my own boss. I even broke it down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. Over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have this book, and due to the pandemic, I know people need help. If you're ready to transition successfully from being an employee into your own business, I'm here to help. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months for free. All you need to do is pay for shipping. That's right, I'm giving away 1,000 copies for free. If you've always wanted to start your dream business, let me give you a roadmap to success. This offer will only be available while supplies last, and when they're gone, they're gone. Click on the button to grab your copy today.
Welcome back. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live. We are taping for the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and we're broadcasting from my Small Biz Chat Facebook page, my YouTube channel, and we are live on Twitter as well. You know, I love my Twitter peeps. Now, let me introduce my next guest. His name is John Warrillow, and he is the founder of the Value Builder System, a simple software for building the value of a company used by thousands of businesses worldwide. He's also the host of Built to Sell Radio and the author of several best-selling books, including Built to Sell, Creating a Business That Can Thrive Without You, The Automatic Customer, and his latest book that was just released. I'm so excited to show it to you, The Art of Selling a Business, Winning Strategies and Secret Hacks for Exiting on Top. I love it. John, it's been so many years since we've spoken, but welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast. Welcome.
How come you don't age a year and I look 10 years older since I last talked to you? Thanks for having me back. It's good to be back.
You're very sweet. You're very sweet. Well, listen, I know we're going to get to talking about your new book, but I got to take you in your way back time machine here. We got to talk about Built to Sell. I know you published that book, gosh, in, what was it, 2011? So it was like almost 10 years ago. But that's how I first met you. That's how long we've been at this thing, right? And that book was really big, and it changed a lot of people's perspectives about how to build a service business. Because I think sometimes when you're building a service business, it ends up being all you. And so you were really good. And what I liked about your book is that it was unique because it had a parable in it. It really, it told a story through telling stories. And I really appreciated it because honestly, it made me think differently even about my own company. So tell me a little bit about how you started writing, books in this genre about, Built to Sell, Automatic Customer, and now The Art of Selling a Business. It's a trilogy, right? All of these books?
It is. And it goes back to the day that someone told me my service business was ugly. I remember the day to this day. I was in an M&A professional's office. Guy's name is Perry. And I thought I would want to sell my company to whoever would buy it. And at the time I was working with very large enterprise organizations. We had big companies like American Express and JP Morgan Chase were clients of ours. And I thought, oh, somebody's going to want to buy my client list. And Perry said, let me ask you a couple of questions. I said, what do you think it's worth? And he said, hold on, but let me ask you a couple of questions. Number one, who does the research? You're a market research company, right? You must have someone doing the research. And I said, yeah, we've got researchers, but I'm still involved in doing the research. And then he said, okay, who does the selling? And I said, well, I'm I'm involved a little bit in the selling. And he said, okay, let me get this straight. You got a market research business. You're doing the selling and you're doing the research. I said, well, yeah, I guess so. And he said, look, I can't sell your company. And it was like being told, like your baby's the ugliest in the maternity ward. Right. And it was really shocking for me. This goes back 20 years, but I took that lesson that he shared with me and made it my goal to really make it a sellable company, changed the business model, made it a subscription company. And ultimately it was acquired by a public company years later. But that story of being in Perry's office, being made to feel like a little child, that I was kind of chasing the wrong thing, stuck with me. And it inspired me to write Built to Sell all those years ago.
Awesome. All right. So then you wrote, what was the second book? The Automatic Customer. So tell me, give me I don't know, the Cliff Note explanation of Automatic Customer. And then I swear we will get to the art of selling.
Yeah. Happy to go wherever you want. Built to Sell was about how do you create a valuable company. The one thing that makes a company even more valuable than making it not be reliant on you is recurring revenue, right? So that revenue, like subscription-based or contract-based revenue that an acquirer can look at that will continue on. And so a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, SaaS companies, is that what he's talking about? Or software companies? And not at all. I think any company can do it. I'm reminded of the guys behind H. Bloom. They started a flower company. And flower stores are the most seasonal transactional companies out there. But the guys from H. Bloom said, how do we remake this into a subscription company? And they realized that there were organizations, in fact, hotels and restaurants bought flowers regularly, right? Unlike most of us who buy them on Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, they bought flowers like every 2 weeks. And they said, well, what if we kind of created a subscription for flowers? All the hotels and restaurants would have us fulfill their flower needs every 2 weeks. Long story short, they built H. Bloom, which is a fantastic company. The average lifetime value of an H. Bloom subscriber is more than $4,000. Compare that with someone who walks into a retail store. So it's a business model I think can work for just about any business.
Awesome. All right. So automatic customer, subscription sales, recurring revenue. And now we've got to the art of selling your business. Okay, so tell us, what is the gist of this book about?
Well, look, I've been doing Built to Sell Radio, which you mentioned in the intro, now for 5 years, right? I've interviewed a different entrepreneur every week for 5 years. And what I've come to learn is that there is a small group of my guests who seem to punch well above their weight when it comes to selling their business. I mean, these guys are getting multiples of revenue when they sell, not multiples of EBITDA or multiples of profit. Oh, wow. And it got me just trying to kind of curious about what are they doing differently? And I started re-listening to all the past tapes of these epic exits and realized there was a way they were going about approaching the negotiation. And it was more art than science. And that's why the book's called The Art of Selling Your Business. And it's about how do you punch above your weight when it comes time to sell?
All right, so let's get into some of this content. So what is the secret to a happy exit?
Well, look, the book is full of negotiation tips and tricks, but the secret to a happy exit has nothing to do with negotiation. It has everything to do with figuring out your pull factors. So most of us as entrepreneurs, we have push factors, right? You've talked about them. Elliot mentioned them. This, red tape, tax, employees, they all frustrate us, right? And those are the things that make us want to sell a company. But the most successful exits are more pull, right? They're where you've got things you're excited to go do, another business you want to start. In your case, like another book you want to write, right? Those are pull factors, right? And I think the best successful exits are one with lots of pull. I'm reminded of one of the guys I interviewed for the show. This guy's name is Sean Oshman, built an IT services company in Denver, Colorado. By the age of 39, he said, by 40, I want to live my life on a sailboat. He lives in Denver, right? So what are you going to do? He's got to sell his company. And he figures he'll go, sell it, gets 2 to 3 times. He figures it's worth around 2 times profit, gets an offer of around 2 times profit, sells his company. And I said to him on the show, I said, 2 times profit's not a huge win. It's not a big exit. It's not massive money. And he said, yeah, but you're missing the point. I said, what's that? And he said, I'm living on a sailboat. And because he had enough money to buy the boat. And it always stuck with me as as we think about the job of selling a company is all about maximizing the value. And trust me, I'm all about that. But in his case, and it was a good lesson, that the most successful, happiest people are often ones that are just not leaving something behind. They're going to something. And I always remember Sean I'm grateful to Sean for telling me that lesson.
That's a really interesting point. So what do you need to know before you start thinking about selling your business?
Look, I think the most important thing for you to do is figure out who your natural strategic acquirers are. A strategic acquirer is someone whom your business is worth more in their hands than it is in your hands. Let me give you an example. There's a woman named Stephanie Breedlove I wrote about in the book. She built a wonderful little company, $9 million payroll company. She had a niche where she focused on helping parents pay their nannies. That's all that she did, payroll for parents who had a nanny. Well, she looked out in the landscape and figured out who's out there that would want to buy my company. And she realized there's a business called care.com. Care.com, as you know, plug in your zip code, it'll tell you who the babysitters are in your neighborhood. And Care at the time had 7 million subscribers, 7 million parents who had nannies to pay. And so Breedlove goes, look, I've got a $9 million business with 10,000 customers. If 1% of your 7 million subscribers buys my payroll service, that's a business 7 times the size. Long story short, Breedlove sells her $9 million business for $54 million. Whoa. 6 times revenue, which is, it doesn't make sense on paper. No valuation consultant would ever have valued it that high. But what that does is miss the point. For Care, it was a very valuable acquisition. So again, the trick to this is to figure out who else in the landscape would your business be worth more in their hands than it is in yours.
Got it. So I think that is brilliant, by the way. And I'm a user of care.com back in the day when my son was a little smaller. So I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. So tell me a little bit though, COVID has done a couple of different things to the small business market. I mean, first of all, it's wiped out a good 40% of the small businesses that were out here, brutal. But it's also pushed people to think about selling or push people to try to save their business through selling. And so I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit about what selling trends have you seen, in this sort of like pandemic era, and see what you thought about that.
Yeah, we actually just did some research on this topic. So you mentioned Value Builder. We have small business owners, when they go in, they complete a questionnaire, asking about their company. And we took the 8 months of people that completed the questionnaire in advance of the COVID pandemic being announced. It's about 5,000 business owners. And then the subsequent 8 months. So during the pandemic, March till the end of last year. And as I say this, I'm mindful that we're still in the pandemic, but I pulled the data and we analyzed pre-COVID and during COVID. 2 big things pop. Number one is the proportion of business owners that plan to pass their business to their kids has dropped through the floor. It's now around 10%. It makes sense, right? I mean, this pandemic has been brutal and nobody wants to pass on their albatross to their kids, right? So the proportion that want to sell to their kids or pass the business to their kids has dropped dramatically. And in lieu of that, the proportion that want to sell externally to a third party has gone up dramatically. It's now almost 60%. Wow. The second big finding from the research was that the sell-by date for most small business owners has been moved forward 20%. Meaning small business owners want to sell much sooner. So I agree with Elliot. I mean, I think it's going to be a very interesting 2021, and a lot of small businesses are going to sell. And so I think that's something to look for this year.
So what kind of team do you need around you? Okay, I've raised my hand. I'm ready to sell my business. Do I need a lawyer? Do I need a broker? Who do I need around me if I think I'm ready to do this?
Yeah, you need an intermediary. And if it's a small business, that's a business broker. If it's a larger business, it's an M&A professional. I'm a huge believer. I remember a story I had with on Built to Sell Radio, a guy named Arik Levy. He sold a company called Laundry Locker, and he tried to do it himself. And unfortunately, he accepted a relatively low offer, which got retraded on, meaning that the buyer kind of lowered the price on later as they were negotiating, and in fact got him to finance part of the sale on that business.
Oh my God.
Arik learned from that. And next time, his second business, Luxor One, he got an M&A professional. Long story short, the M&A professional got 5 offers for his company. And then get this, through a process of playing one offer off the next, got the offers up 300%, meaning a 3-fold increase just by playing one off the other. And so I always remember that story from Arik Levy because it reminds me of trying to do it yourself and the downside of that versus getting a professional, someone who knows what they're doing. And in this case, they literally tripled the offer. Now, that's not going to happen for everybody, but it will, I think, pay for themselves in creating competitive tension. So I think you need an M&A professional.
You remind me of a story that I once had the opportunity to talk to Famous Dave of Famous Dave's, and he told me a very similar story that he sold his company to, he sold Famous Dave's to a company that then franchised it, and he kind of did it himself with a lawyer, and really, he did not end up with what he should have had. And you really do have to get the right people around you, but you also have to vet your own people, because I've heard stories of entrepreneurs who got a lawyer and the lawyer for the other side knew that lawyer and they didn't represent you as aggressively as they should because they were helping their friend across the table and then got a kickback somewhere else down the line. I mean, there's all kinds of salacious stuff that goes on in deals, right? And I know that you say that one of the things you really have to watch out for is sort of like the evil tricks that Fortune 500 giants can do, or private equity firms can do when they're trying to purchase a business from an inexperienced owner. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the stuff to look out when you're dealing with kind of partner?
Yeah. I devoted a whole section of the book to all the slimy, sleazy tricks, private equity companies and corporate buyers try to pull over on entrepreneurs, because as entrepreneurs, we get tons of time to build a marketing plan, hire employees. We learn all about running a small business, but very little opportunities to sell it. And so they take advantage of that naivete. Look, one of the big questions that you're going to get when you go to sell your company is, well, what do you want for it? Right? It's a fair question, right? Like, you're selling a car, you're selling a house, like, what do you want for it? The danger of answering that question is you put a ceiling onto which you will ever sell your company for, right? It's the old expression in negotiation, he who answers or she who says their price first will lose. And I'm reminded of one of the folks I've interviewed for the show was a guy named Chris Jones, who built a company called Pepper Jam, affiliate marketing business. And he got a call from a guy named Michael Rubin. Michael Rubin is like a tech luminary, billionaire, unicorn guy. And Jones thinks he's going to have a one-on-one meeting with this guy, Michael Rubin, a nice chat. Jones walks in and Rubin says, okay, what do you want for Pepper Jam? And instead of being on his own, Rubin is flanked by his chief financial officer and his head of corporate development. And he says it again, what do you want for your company? And Chris, like not expecting this at all, is kind of on his back foot and blurts out a number. And Rubin says to his chief financial officer, okay, I think we can get a deal done. And what Jones told me was that I probably put a ceiling on the value of my company there because I just wasn't expecting that question. Right. So look, I think if you get the question, what do you want for your company? You're in no requirement to say anything. You can just simply say, look, I'm a reasonable person. I'll review any reasonable offer you think you'd like to make. And let them make the first move.
Put it back on them. I love it.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to box me into a corner, buddy. Tell me what you want for it. It's funny because I'm starting to get a lot of offers for my URL. When I created succeedasyourownboss.com, that's why I never named my business melindaemerson.com. I named it succeedasyourownboss.com on purpose, 13, 14 years ago, because I knew one day I would sell it. Now, I'm not trying to sell it anytime soon, but I find it interesting that I'm starting to get emails, offers, people asking me, are you interested in selling your URL? And I'm just sort of like, well, what are you interested in paying? Just to see what the market is out there,
Absolutely.
because I do have an active URL that gets a huge amount of traffic. I have an extremely low Alexa score, so I know what I have is value. And I also have, like, I don't know, 5,000 articles about how to start and grow a successful small business on it as well. So there's lots of different types of assets within one asset. But I know what you mean about just, thinking about it. Because honestly, when I started getting the emails, I had never even thought about it. What would I, if I ever sold it, what would I sell it for? So I think it's important, the advice that you just gave. And I really want to get more, but I got to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking with John about even more tips about the art of selling a small business. You are watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we will be right back.
In terms of efficiency, platform, speed, it's excellent. To have access to some financial tools like plastic is really helpful. We've got to go procure ingredients. So we've got to get them organic certified. We produce the corrugate, cardboard, the packaging, manufacturers, got to do a trial run, production run. And we've got to start paying people fast. And we need to pay them with cash or a wire. And plastic comes in and fills that void for us.
We're back right now with my guest, John Warrillow, the author of The Art of Selling Your Business. And now we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes to avoid when selling a business. So, John, break it down for us. What is, like, one of your biggies? You already just told us one about not setting the ceiling for yourself, but I know there's plenty others. So what are some of the other things we need to watch out for?
Oh, man. I mean, look, the best time to sell a business is when someone's buying it. And I think the danger and one of the big mistakes we make is we play a little bit too hard to get. So I'll give you an example. I had a guy on the show called Rand Fishkin, and Rand built a great company called Moz, that software business. They built to $5 million in revenue. And software companies are really highly valued. And he got it in his head it was worth 4 times revenue. So in his mind, it's a pretty attractive asset, and he's growing at about 100% a year. So while he's at 5 million today, he's expecting to be at 10 million next year. So in his mind, he's like 10 million revenue. It's worth 4 times revenue. It's worth 40 million bucks. He gets a call from a guy named Brian Halligan, who started HubSpot. And he says, look, I see what you're doing at SEO Moz. Why don't we have a conversation? And Halligan offers him 5 times his existing year's revenue, or $25 million of cash and HubSpot stock. And Fishkin says, well, I was thinking more like 40. And Halligan says, no, I'm not paying for the future. I'm paying for the company you built today. I'm offering 25. Fishkin says, can't do it. Fishkin instead raises venture capital and goes out and starts a number of different products. Unfortunately, most of them aren't as successful as he was hoping. And the company starts to bleed cash. And in fact, it's so desperate that the venture capitalists remove Rand from the CEO spot.
Wow.
And I interviewed him after the fact. And I said, what was that like? I mean, what happened to your share? Do you still own? And he said, you know what? Because of the way the venture capitalists invested, they use something called preferred shares. Preferred shares means that they get their guaranteed return before he sees anything as a common shareholder. And so I said, well, what's your stock worth these days? And he said, it's probably not worth anything, because they've held it for so long that they're going to get all of their return before I see anything. And then I said to Rand, okay, so what would that offer have been worth that you got from Halligan based on the appreciation of HubSpot stock? And he said it'd be worth close to $200 million. I tell you that story for 2 reasons. Number one, preferred shares are a way a lot of investors try to effectively get your company and ensure they are going to get their return. And oftentimes that's going to undermine your return. Number two, again, the best time to sell your company is when someone's buying. And if someone like a Brian Halligan shows up with a check, it's a good time to pay attention.
Oh yeah, no, he should have taken that money and ran for sure. All right, so
he's got a great book by him. You got to get his book. Rand wrote a book called Lost and Founder, and he tells the story in the book. So do get the book. It's a beautiful book, and he's done a great job with it.
Somebody just emailed me about that book, actually. So I was thinking about getting the book and maybe getting him on. So thank you for that tip. I'll follow up with that. All right.
Yeah.
So how can you position your business to get acquired by somebody?
Man, positioning, again, it's all the art of selling. It's all about how do you position it. And what you want to do is make sure you look like something someone was going to want to buy. So what you're going to look at is look the acquirers in your space and see what kind of businesses they're buying. There's a lot of private equity groups right now, for example, rolling up certain industries. So you're going to want to look like something others want to buy. I'm reminded of a story from the guys from Embanet. So Embanet was in the business of helping universities and colleges put their courses online. They were like a graphic design, web design shop. And they got an offer for their company, early days, they got an offer of 3 times profit, which is kind of an average offer, not a very sexy offer, but it was, it's a good offer. And the guys behind the company, Feldberg and Wells are the names. They said, we want to do better. We want to get a better valuation. And so they chose to reposition their company from just a website development shop to being part of the burgeoning e-learning industry, right? Because they were working with these universities to help put their content online. So they started to remake their website, and their whole entire marketing message went from being a graphic design shop to a development shop to a e-learning organization. 2.5 years later, they got an offer of 13 times EBITDA.
Whoa.
The way you position your company and talk about it in the marketplace has a huge impact on its value.
I love it. I love it. All right. So last piece of advice for somebody that wants to sell their company. What is one more thing you want them to know?
Man, I think the most important thing to ensure you punch above your weight is to have multiple offers, right? And there's 3 types of buyers. Small businesses are generally bought by individual investors. Medium-sized businesses are often bought by private equity groups, in particular these days. And then larger businesses often get the attention of a strategic acquirer like Stephanie Breedlove and Care.com. What you want to do is not turn yourself off to any one of those 3 acquirers, because what you really want is multiple offers. With multiple offers, it allows you to be in the driver's seat, you to dictate your terms. And so I just remain open to all 3 types of buyers, get more than one offer, and then play the game that Arik Levy played so well, and ginning the offers up by playing one off the other.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, John, for coming on. I don't want to remind everybody, his book is The Art of Selling a Business. I have a feeling it's going to be another bestseller, John. So good luck to you, and hang out, because we're going to bring you back for our Hit It or Quit It panel. But right now we're going to head to commercial. And when we come right back, if you are interested in becoming a brand like Dr. Oz, I have the Queen of Smiles here. She's going to be talking to us about how to become a celebrity doctor. I'm Melinda Emerson. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I'm known as America's #1 small business expert. I know a thing or two about how to run a successful business. I've been running my own for over 20 years, and I'm often asked, how do I actually become my own boss? It starts with knowing what you want and why. Then you need to figure out how you'll fund your dream business. Next, you must research your idea and make sure you understand everything that's involved. Next, you must determine your target customer, then complete your business plan. And finally, it's time to start your business as a side hustle first, if you can. I wrote my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, to give you a roadmap to business success. And over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have been helped by this book. And now, to support people affected by this pandemic, I'm giving away 1,000 copies of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months for free. All you need to do is pay the shipping and handling fees. If you're ready to turn your calling into income, claim your free copy of my book today. Don't delay. This offer is only good while supplies last. Click the button below and get yours before they're all gone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Small Biz Chat Live. We are going to be talking now about how to become a celebrity doctor on today's podcast interview. We are with Dr. Catrice Austin. She is a trailblazing expert in the field of dentistry, known as the Queen of Smiles. She is an award-winning cosmetic dentist, the stars. Her clients are celebrities like Cardi B, Wendy Williams, Anthony Anderson, and Common, to name a few. She's also a #1 best-selling author of her book, How to Become a Celebrity Doctor. Here it is. She broke it all down for you. And she teaches other doctors her medical marketing secrets. And she's currently based in Brooklyn, New York. Catrice, welcome to Small Biz Chat.
Thank you so much for having me, Melinda.
All right, so tell us about your practice. Like how did you become a cosmetic dentist to the stars? Help us understand.
When I finished dental school in 1996, I came to the big city of New York to do my 1 year of training in the hospital, my residency. But in that year of 1996, man, I've been in school all my life, and I discovered there's a world out here. Like there was dance clubs, comedy clubs, hip hop was at its prime, and I hit the streets of New York and had a blast. So, there were hot spots. On Sunday night was the comedy club where you see a young Mike Epps or a young Tracy Morgan. And I started going to this comedy club every Sunday. Every Tuesday, P. Diddy would have his restaurant called Justin's that turned into a dance club at night. And so all of these places would have celebrities just roaming around. And as I started to hang out in the streets of New York, I said, wow, I'm making friends with celebrities. I'm just going to become the dentist to the stars. This is even before I even had a physical location. I put it on a business card. I hit the streets of New York, and I was like a guerrilla marketing, the street team, and everybody that I saw, I would hand them this card. I'm like, somebody's going to bite. Somebody needs a dentist. I know it. So one day, it's a Tuesday, I'm at P. Diddy's restaurant, and I see this legendary icon in music by the name of Isaac Hayes. And this is, Shaft, this is, the man. And it took me about an hour. He was sitting down having dinner, and I decided I'm gonna go for it. I may not ever see this man again in my life. So he's sitting down having dinner with 5 of his radio colleagues. He was on the radio at the time. And I decided to just go over and introduce myself. So I go over and I'm like, hi, Mr. Isaac Hayes. I'm Dr. Catrice Austin. I'm 28 at the time. I am a cosmetic dentist, and hey, if you need a dentist, I would love to be your dentist. And he took my card and he was like, young lady, I ain't never seen a dentist that looked like you. Why don't you just sit down and have dinner with me? And I sat down, had dinner with him, and the rest is history. I literally became a part of his family and entourage. So when he went to the Grammys, I went to the Grammys. When he went to film festivals, I was there, right there. And that kind of opened up the doors of being exposed even more with this icon to the world of entertainment. And he became my first celebrity client. And that was just the name that I needed. And then my mom said, you have your first celebrity client, you need a publicist. And at the time, it was unheard of to have a publicist as a dentist. And not only did she tell me to call a publicist, she told me to call Eddie Murphy's publicist, Terry Williams. So I cold call her and say, hi, same spiel. Hi, Terry, I'm Dr. Catrice Austin. I'm a cosmetic dentist, and I want to be the dentist to the stars. She says, wow, you're young, you're Black, you're female, you're in New York City. This is a great story, but I charge my clients about $50,000 a month or more. I work with big corporations. I don't think you can afford me, but you can afford maybe my friend Renee Foster. She's a publicist. So I called Renee Foster, and she says, you know what? I don't have a dentist. Why don't I do your publicity for free, and you just be my dentist and do my cleanings and maintain my teeth? And I'm like, bet. So that was just the break that I need. So from there, I got into all the major publications, some television shows, and it just took off from there.
Awesome. That is a great story. So, that's what happened to you. But how would you advise someone like who they're a doctor and they want to become a brand? What would you suggest that they do now?
Well, I think it's even, when I was younger, I had to actually physically go out and search for my target audience. now I tell the young healthcare professionals that it's so easy. You have social media. You don't even have to leave your house. You can slide in some DMs and picture your shot. It's so easy. And now with Clubhouse, you can literally, everybody's on this app. You can literally be in a room and talk to Grant Cardone or anyone, anyone that you need as a resource. So I think today is easy as long as you just know who your target audience is, and you put yourself in a position where you are the authority in your field, no matter what type of doctor or healthcare provider that you are. So those are the things that I talk about in my book, how to really set yourself apart from your competition and be the go-to person in your field as a doctor.
So if someone is a doctor and they want to sort of like become a personal brand, or they want to build a personal brand, do they need sort of like a moniker like you have, like Queen of Smiles, or like I'm the small biz lady? Like, do they need something like that?
It's very important to have, something signature about you, something that sets you apart. So yes, I thought about, I'm the Queen of Smiles. Like, I am the best at what I do. There's nobody that is above what I do. So yes, the Queen of Smiles was a great title and hashtag as well. So when I'm doing my social media, people now can know that as my signature identification marker. It's all about target market and just finding your voice and having a distinct selling point. What's going to make you different? I mean, with dentistry, okay, everybody does fillings, everybody does cleanings, everybody does whitening. So for me, I knew that celebrities love beautiful pearly white teeth. And right when I got into my own practice, porcelain veneers, this is the thing that all the celebrities get, that was starting to really be a very popular procedure. So I did everything that I needed to do, took the courses, because they actually don't teach a lot of cosmetic dentistry in school. It's something that you have to kind of learn on your own. So joining the organization for cosmetic dentistry, taking the necessary courses and really becoming a master to set myself apart from my competition. And now people know me for veneers. That's all I do now. I don't do anything else but teeth whitening and veneers.
Awesome. So I know in your book, you talk about how every doctor needs a signature story. Why do you think that?
Well, it's a way of connecting. Every time that a lot of times when I'm speaking on my social media or I'm speaking in public, it's a way to connect with your target audience. So for instance, my signature story and how I got into cosmetic dentistry is when I was growing up, I hated my teeth. I have a little tiny gap right now still, but when I was growing up, I had multiple spaces. My teeth flared out, and every day in the schoolyard, I get called names, Bugs Bunny, railroad tracks, whatever crazy names that kids could think of. And it hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings to the point where I just didn't feel comfortable being around people. I had no confidence. And it wasn't until high school that I really had my breaking point. I wanted to be one of the cool kids. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to feel sexy. This is when you want to date. And my mom knew this. So she came up with the money for the braces that changed my life. So just wearing braces for a year really helped me understand the power of a smile. So now as a cosmetic dentist, I actually get to pay it forward. When I go to work and I transform someone's smile with veneers, which it doesn't take, I wore braces for a year. Veneers is like, I could give it to you in like a week. And so you can transform your smile in a week. And now I know when I'm speaking to my clients or my potential customers, I know what the end result is going to be. And having that story and sharing that story helps me connect to my particular target market. So everyone has a story, and that's the thing that's really going to draw people to you and want to do business with you.
Now, if you're a doctor who wants to get media interviews, what kinds of things can you do? Like, do you need to hire a publicist? Is that how you do it?
You can, it's the easier way to do it, yet the most expensive way to do it. I've worked with publicists that were $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. So, and that's a possibility that they may get you on TV. So in my book, because I've learned it, I've been doing publicity for 24 years now, I now teach how you can pitch yourself. Is really easy because media outlets are looking for stories. When you are pitching to them, you're making their job really easy. They don't have to go out and search. So I teach my potential students and my coaching students that how to write a pitch, how to do a press kit, how to literally just showing up on social media and coming up with catchy headlines and titles and doing videos. You put yourself out there. There have been times like when I was on the Dr. Oz show last year, they literally found me and I thought it was a joke. Somehow they were in my DMs and they were like, we're looking for you. We want you to be on the show in 2 days. And it was because they just saw what I was doing, some of my videos and content, that they found me. So sometimes they will find you, but you can also pitch very easily. Pitching is super easy, but having a book is always helpful as well. Just they want authorities on their television shows, or they want to know that you are an expert in your field, and a book will do that.
Absolutely, absolutely right. One of the other things I know is that you've gotten some spokesperson opportunities, right? You have, that's actually how we met at Essence Festival all those years ago. You were down there, I think, working for Colgate or somebody that day.
Yes, yes.
So how did those kind of opportunities come about?
The same thing. I took it. Well, here's the thing. A lot of doctors feel uncomfortable with social media, and I was not one of those doctors. I always embrace going live and doing videos and sharing content, and people are watching you. Literally, Colgate sent me a message on Facebook, and I thought it was a joke because clearly this is not how Colgate reaches out to the brand spokespeople. But they did. So I literally vetted and did my research and made the call. And it was that opportunity to be a brand spokesperson I think we had a good run for about 4 years together. I've been a spokesperson for Sensodyne, for Colgate, Crest, Aquafresh, pretty much every major brand I have represented. And I think setting myself apart and as the expert and the celebrity doctor all led to those opportunities that maybe other doctors did not get. So I try to convey to up and coming doctors that if you don't want to be stuck in the office and doing the same thing every day, and you want to expand and get out and see the world, I have been as far as Australia and New Zealand speaking on the power of a smile. So if you want to expand your brand and get out of the office and have an exciting life as a doctor, because it could be stressful and boring, my life is not, I highly encourage people to think outside the box and come over to the celebrity world and brand yourself apart from the rest.
All right. Now, how can people get more information about your book and even your coaching program?
You can find me at www.vipsmiles. If you go to any of my social media outlets, I have a link tree which has all the information. You can purchase my book. So just click on the link in my bios in my social media, or go to vipsmiles.com and you'll see courses. And I would love to, if you're a doctor out there, I want to teach you guys how to expand and become a celebrity doctor.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Catrice Austin, the Queen of Smiles. Thank you so much for being here. And what I want to do right now is I want to bring back my other two guests, because it is time for the Hit It and Quit It panel. Now, let me tell you guys how this works. I'm going to bring my guests back. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask each of you the same question, but here's the catch. You only have 30 seconds to answer, and you cannot repeat somebody else's answer. So if you do, and if you talk over 30 seconds, we got a buzzer for you. So don't make me use my buzzer tonight. All right, so I want to welcome back Elliott Buchanan and John Warrillow. And of course, we were just speaking with Dr. Catrice Austin. And so here we go. So the first question is going to go to you, John, and then we're going to go to Elliott and then Catrice. So you guys can get ready. First question, what is your favorite podcast? What is your favorite podcast, John Warrillow?
Yours. And I actually like the New York Times, The Daily. I get most of my information from The Daily. Love that show.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Elliott, what's your favorite podcast?
Oh, God. John kind of took mine. I'm sort of a creature of habit. I'm not going to name it, so I don't get buzzed here. Probably there's a blitz scaling podcast with Reid Hoffman around just rapid scaling startups.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I've listened to him too. That's a good one. All right, Catrice, what's your favorite podcast?
Mine is Julie Solomon's Influencer Podcast.
Like it, like it. I haven't listened to her, but I know who she is. So good stuff, good stuff. All right, my next question, I'm going to come to you, Elliot, first, and then Catrice, and then John, you're going to be last this time, okay? What is your favorite business app? Elliot, what is your favorite business app?
Ooh, probably, does Uber count in a non-COVID time? Did I travel so much on Uber?
Uber definitely counts. If you want to say Uber, say Uber. I mean,
Yeah,
you also
Uber.
could have said your own, but
No,
you could have said plastic.
No, I don't. That'd be too close to home. But I only got my driver's license a year ago as well, so that's why it's Uber.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, that's another podcast interview to tell me about that.
Yeah.
All right, Catrice, what is your favorite business app?
Instagram is my jam. That is my app, man.
I love it. I love it. You've got way, way more followers on Instagram than me, so I got to learn from you. All right, John, what is your favorite business app?
I'm going to give you a weird one, Strava. And here's why. I follow on Strava, the fitness app, some of the entrepreneurs that I interact with. And I think it gives us a different platform to connect with that is somewhat unsuspecting.
Strava. Okay, I've never heard of that one. So you're teaching me something tonight here. Strava.
I'm here for you, Melinda.
All right. Well, now the next question I got, Catrice, you're going to be first. Elliot, you're second. John, you're last. What is your favorite old school marketing tip? Favorite old school marketing tip? Catrice, I'm coming to you first.
Man. Woo, child. Let's see. Let's go with you gotta target audience, and I'm going with come back to me.
All right, I'm gonna come back to you. I'm gonna give you a pass. I'm gonna come back to you. All right, Elliot, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Probably leverage friends and family. That's how this business started. I had no connections, and our first customers were friends and family, and probably wouldn't have started if we didn't use that.
I think that's a perfectly good one. Leverage friends and family. Good stuff. All right, John, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Man, I love taking a book and highlighting something in the book, like with a sticky note, and writing, I thought of you, page 14 really reminded of you. And it's the tailoring of the page in the book. Nobody has time to read a whole book, but if you actually tailor it, I find that makes an impression.
I completely agree with you. I love sending customers books, just like, hey, I know we're, our contract might be over, but I saw this book and it made me think of you. And it's amazing how they'll pick up the phone and call you appreciative of something like that. All right, Catrice, you got something? I'm coming back to you.
So nurturing your existing customers so that they're repeat customers.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Everybody wants to chase new customers. People forget about their existing customers. And I tell people all the time, it's cheaper to keep a customer than it is to go out and get a new one every day. Now,
I came back strong with that one.
You did. I'm proud of you, girl. I'm proud of you. So now my favorite old school marketing tip is handwritten notes. We're on email all the time. A personal handwritten note on stationery is something somebody will not throw away. It's something they will value. So that's my favorite one. All right, last question, you guys. Favorite business book you've ever read? Favorite business book? John, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Catrice, and Elliot, you're last. John, go ahead.
Yeah, Small Giants by Bo Burlingham. It is a wonderful book if you haven't read it.
That was an absolutely, absolutely great book. All right, Catrice, what's your favorite business book?
How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie, love it, love it. Great book, great book. All right, Elliot, what do you got for me?
Probably The Hard Things About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. He's a venture capitalist.
That is a great book. That was a great book too. And actually, one of my favorite books is Disrupt You by Jay Samit. That's one of my favorite business books. I've recommended it to a lot of people. And my favorite thing about it is he says, you want to disrupt the world? That's great. Start by disrupting yourself. Love it. Love it. Listen, you guys, thank you so much for being my guest on Small Biz Chat tonight. Thank you to Elliott Buchanan, co-founder of Plastique. Thank you to Plastique for sponsoring today's show. And John Warrillow, author of the new book, The Art of Selling. Everybody needs to get this book. It is amazing. And thank you to Dr. Catrice Austin, author of How to Become a Celebrity Doctor. And if you want more information about her coaching programs, head over to VIPsmiles.com. All right, everybody. I am Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I always appreciate you for coming and joining us for the Small Biz Chat podcast. If you want more information on how to start or grow your small business, head over to my blog at succeedasYourOwnBoss.com. Thank you for watching. The mission of Small Biz Chat is to end small business failure. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, your host. And until next time, remember that you never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody.
I just finished presenting to over 2,000 small business owners who jumped on my webinar on how to become your own boss in these uncertain times. I partner with top brands including Verizon, American Express, and Chase to educate small business owners across the country. In today's webinar, I taught my 6-step system to start a business. I also taught them how to establish a disaster-proof plan to turn their calling into income. We talked about how to find the people they want to serve online. I know how to help you make money as a boss. I've spent the last 12 years compiling exactly what it takes to become your own boss. I even broke it down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss. Over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have this book. And due to the pandemic, I know people need help. If you're ready to transition successfully from being an employee to becoming your own boss, listen carefully. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of my book, Become Your Own Boss, for free. All you need to do is pay for shipping. That's right, I'm giving away 1,000 copies. This book is going to show you how to become your own boss, create a pandemic-proof plan, and launch a successful business. Don't delay. This offer is only available while supplies last.